Yes, welcome to the No Stay Project here on LRN.FM. That's right, the Liberty Radio Network. This is the No Stay Project live from the fortified compound in San Bernardino. That's right, every other week we are in San Bernardino, so I will not be doing the stream on my YouTube channel. That's only going to be every other week, but glad to be here for Wow, it's not January anymore. It is actually February 3rd, 2018. If you want to join me on the big show, and before I do that, I want to thank everybody. I did finally hit 10,000 subs on my No Stay Project YouTube channel and had the highest number of people viewing the live stream, which is great. Great sign, more people participating, more people listening in, which means there's more people to challenge these criminals that call themselves government. And that is always a good thing, because we need to be doing a lot of challenging and in and out of court. So appreciate the 10,000 subs. That means a lot. And I appreciate the support of the show. This show is actually being brought to you by our friend Bao in Tarrant County, Texas, who did get released. I'll talk more about that. But if you want to join me on the big show today, you may do so at 218-632-9399. 218-632-9399. And the passcode is 2020. With the pound sign or hashtag 2020 with the pound sign. You can join me on Skype at Frank Rizzo 3. If you want to actually talk on the air on Skype, instant message me first at Frank Rizzo 3, and I will bring you up on that there break. And I'm really glad, hopefully, that we're going to hear from Bo today. Bao, I keep screwing that up. That hopefully we're going to hear from him today. The local tyrant, Cheril Hardy, is the monster who ordered not only Bao to be held without bail for a non-violent offense, mind you, non-violent. The only violence being used here is by the police, the prosecutor, and of course Cheril Hardy. And also a forced psychological evaluation, which according to Bao on Skype this morning was only about 5 minutes of chit-chat. So hopefully he calls in and will give us the details. If we aren't able to hear from him, I will give some details from the report that he sent me. I did call to speak to Dr. Barry Norman, and he hung up on me. I asked him if I could ask him a few questions regarding the procedure that they use to set up these psychological exams with the court, and he immediately hung up. So I think he just has a very cushy, lucrative part of his practice that he doesn't want questioned. So I did contact the commissioner, one of the Precinct 2 county commissioner, and I had to do it again because they did not get back with me, that I want to be able to speak to them about this process, and I also want to speak to someone at the county, some agency that with the county or the state that I would speak to regarding the mental health of a county employee such as the monster Cheril Hardy. And the reason why I would be questioning her mental health is that she ordered a psych evaluation on Bao, and all he did was ask a question. So her callous disregard for the rights of others, or the well-being of others, and using subterfuge, lying, having this done under the guise of a psychological evaluation, definitely raises a flag with me that the monster Cheril Hardy does not have, well, she's got an antisocial personality traits, the callous disregard for others, and not being able to tolerate challenge as well, not being able to have a rational discussion as an adult. That should be a cause for concern. So we'll hopefully find out that there is a local agency that can look into that. And I mentioned on the Wednesday broadcast we should definitely be doing our own complaints because of that, because people need to know about this. they need to have some pushback, that if they're going to start threatening us with this, we will strike back, non-violently, but with our own complaints. So we'll see where that goes. I did finally get the tyranny spotlight, and I love the one of the comments. One of the first comments was a question saying the tranny spotlight, which may be more appropriate for the Cheril Hardy tyranny spotlight. But we'll get that. That's the next tyranny spotlight. So when I get back home, maybe Monday afternoon, I will have that posted on my YouTube channel, which of course is No State Project. And Terry in Michigan, who apparently, I did not know that he had gone to jail again. Apparently the big Dick Noble, I believe is responsible. That may not be accurate. Hopefully we hear from Terry today and he can give us an update regarding his incarceration. If I had known, I would have done another habeas corpus petition like we did with Bao and like we did with Terry last year, which did help get him out sooner than the 60 days that he was sent for. So hopefully we hear soon. So another, the big Dick. This is a man who is notorious for throwing people in jail for asking questions, and so not only complaints against the county's insurance, the risk management, but we need to do something about his antisocial personality traits, which make it very, very dangerous to have him in a position of authority. Well, there shouldn't be any positions of authority. It's even worse when somebody is, of course, exhibiting antisocial personality traits. And that's something that the big Dick is infamous for. He is no stranger to that. So, yeah, psychological evaluations, whatever we can do to push this for the judges and prosecutors, then I think that is a step in the right direction. So together with I would imagine that the people who work in risk management, together with the county commissioners, maybe they should be, they might be concerned, or maybe more so the people in risk management who are actually, understand risk and lawsuits. Maybe if we can show them that there's a potential for damage claims and that there is a big potential for claims against the insurance, the city or county's insurance, maybe that's something that would get their attention and something can be done. It could be, look, it could be nothing more than a back room. Maybe they go and they speak to the judge and they say, look, we're not going to tell you how to run your courtroom. However, if you're going to be potentially opening up the county to liability, yeah, that we have an interest in limiting the liability. It's called risk management for a reason there, tough guy. And see, the thing is, when you threaten people with psychological evals and you don't have grounds, and if you actually carry that out and falsely imprison somebody, you do it on the false pretenses, you're opening the county up to a big claim. And so why don't we're going to just suggest that you back off with the psychological exams, okay? Threaten contempt, but don't threaten psychological evals. It's too easy for people to show that you're doing it on the false pretenses. And if they can prove you did it on the false pretenses, they have a pretty good chance of defeating us in court if we deny their claim. So let's limit the liability there, jackass. My name is Mark Stevens. We'll be back with your calls here on the No State Project in just a moment. The number is 218-632-9399. The passcode is 2020 with the pound sign. Yes, welcome back to the big broadcast, live from the fortified compound in San Bernardino, California. It is the February 3rd edition of the No State Project, and I'm glad to bring up someone who's been on the show before. We've talked about him quite a few times here on the big broadcast, and I'm going to get his name correct. He was nice and did not correct me that time. But a bunch of people on the chat did. But he is the one who unfortunately had to see Dr. Barry Norman on Wednesday after the big Wednesday broadcast. He was forced to see this doctor who hung up on me. But I want to welcome back to the show, Bao.
How's it going, Mark?
It's going well. Yeah, glad to have you on. I'm glad you made it through the ordeal. Wow, this is not going to... I think you're calling from a cell phone, and the audio is absolutely dreadful.
If you give me 1 second, I'm going to fix that.
Okay. We're going to give Bao just a moment there, but I know we have tech issues on the show all the time, but I think this one's not my fault. So we may have to have Bo call on a different line. Not, it's terrible, absolutely dreadful.
Okay, I'm going to call you back on a better device. I'll call right back.
Okay, sounds good. All right, we'll mute that part of the line up right there. I got to tell you, from little heads up on the psych eval was that even though we found that Bao was not incompetent, not crazy, he said, I'll let him say the thing about the personality, but he did remark a number of times about anxiety. And I'm thinking, you're a doctor? You have a PhD? And but you need a PhD to understand that somebody who's forced into jail and forced into a psych eval against his will that's going to cause some anxiety? The hell do you think, you jackass? And no wonder he's hanging up on me. This damn, the whole thing, I think, is just it just smacks of a con. It's an easy way for them to make money. And I'm sure there's some kind of, well, I'm not sure, but maybe there's some kind of kickback there where this Cheril Hardy there's some kind of, kickback where she's getting something for employing this guy's services. I don't know. I'm speculating. Hey, just like Cheril Hardy and the prosecutor against Bao, I'm just speculating. So, but hey, it's not supposed to be that's right. We don't get to speculate. Only the ones with the robes on and those snakes who want the robe. All right, we're going to go back to Bao. We're going to see if we can. We have a better connection. All right, Bao, is that better?
I hope it is for you. This is the best I can get it.
Hey, this is pretty damn good. So welcome back, my friend. I'm glad you made it through the ordeal.
Okay. Yeah, most definitely.
So you went through a forced psychological evaluation by Dr. Barry Norman, and that was on Wednesday night, correct?
No, that's not correct. They ordered on the 22nd. It was ordered for the 24th. I did not see him until about 2:30 Friday afternoon on the 26th.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So I had gotten.
2:30 Central Standard Time.
I guess I had gotten some. My information was inaccurate because I had gotten during the show or before the show, somebody had Skyped me and said that you were going into the psych eval, and it would have been at, I think, 6 o'clock on Wednesday. So I guess, okay, so that was wrong. So it was actually on Friday.
Mm-hmm. It was on Friday.
And when did you get out?
I got out on the 31st, the night of the 31st, I believe. Diabetes.
Sorry, I apologize. I thought I turned off the notifications.
It's cool.
So...
the 30th, I mean. Diabetes. No, the 31st. Yeah, the 31st. Wednesday the 31st.
Wow. So it took 5 days after the psych eval for them to let you out.
Right, and the events leading up to it was kind of interesting as well.
All right, well, relate to us the details.
Well, on the night or no, on the night of the 20th or the 30th, I believe, which was a Tuesday, at about 8:30, that court-appointed attorney that I told no thanks to came up and visited me. They put me in handcuffs, took me out of the little cage they had me in, put me in another cage, and there was a window, and then on the other side of the window was the guy that tried to talk to me when I was at the hearing on the 18th, and I told him no thanks. So he was like, "Are you going to let me help you?" The volume in the room wasn't the best. I wasn't in the best condition to speak. I had handcuffs on me. I wasn't comfortable. So I looked at him and we agreed that that wasn't the best venue at the moment. I'm more than willing to speak to him. However, it's not under the conditions. So I just asked him, "Can you get me out?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'll have to call Dr. Norman and get the psych evals, and then I can get to the courts, and then, they can let you out." So that's what, that was that. So he called Dr. Norman, and they set up like a hearing, or not like a hearing, they set up a hearing on the 31st. They came and got me in my cage at about 2 o'clock. The transport and waiting took about a couple hours. They put me in a small cage behind the same courtroom I was in on the 18th. And they brought me into the court, or that same guy, Brad Clark, the public attorney that they tried to force upon me, came up and spoke to me and tried to get some more answers out of me, this, that, and the other. And I told him, let's agree that, this isn't the best place for us to talk. I told you that, I will speak with you, however, just not in this environment. At that point, I waited some more. I got into the courtroom after that, and they had me standing up. There was 2 bailiffs in the room. Brad Clark was to my right. At the next table to Brad Clark's right is a young lady. I don't know who she is at the time. Now that I know her name is Prosecutor Kirby.
Okay, well, just Bo, hold on a second. We're up against the break, so just hold on a moment. Let me mute you back up. My name is Mark Stevens. You're listening to the No State Project right here on the Liberty Radio Network. Talk with Bao and his ordeal before the monster Cheril Hardy, spending over a week in jail for a forced psychological evaluation. We'll be back with more details in just a moment, so don't go away. Yes, welcome back. You're listening to the No State Project, and we're with Bao, who has given us the details, reporting in regarding his ordeal at the hands of the monster Cheril Hardy. And why do I call her a monster, everybody? Because when you put somebody in jail who is not accused of hurting anybody, who's not violent whatsoever, and then you force a psychological evaluation on them just because they asked a question, you're a damn monster. And this woman needs to be exposed. And I'm glad to know that at least if anybody Googles or does any kind of search on the internet for Cheril Hardy, especially her family or friends, if they do a search for their mother or their sister, whoever, they are going to get my videos, and also Joe in Hawaii, who was on the show a few weeks ago, so from Ethical Anarchism. They're going to get our videos, you're going to get my articles on the first page, and so I put that in one of the videos, so I'm glad about that. So at least there's something. So, and now maybe if I can get somewhere with the county commissioner, at least get a dialogue going, so maybe Bao or somebody else can go and present the information about this monster to a public meeting. And maybe nothing will come of it. Maybe there'll be somebody there to say, do you have any idea what they're saying about you at the county commissioner's office? Do you know that I even heard that they've been filing complaints about you with risk management so that risk management knows that you are a potential threat, that you're acting recklessly. I'd love to see how the look on her fat face if we're able to get something like that. So, but welcome back, Bao. You were telling us about what was happening in court, and so that you now know the prosecutor's name?
Yeah, it's going to be Prosecutor Kirby. However, the cover page on the file they have on me at the records office, the plaintiff is Sharon Wilson. But the one that was at the hearing for my release was another one named Prosecutor Kirby. That's the only thing I know. There was Marianne Clifton is the one that was recording the hearing, and they had a sit-in judge. Her name was Magistrate Wynn, was what they told me. She was Caucasian, so I figured I'm thinking W-Y-N-N or W-I-N-N or something to that matter, not N-G-U-Y-E like mine.
How many wins are we going to have involved here by the time we're done? I know it's
been quite a few. The officer that initiated the whole ordeal, his last name is exactly the same as mine. And then now, yeah, I made a couple of wins while I was getting transported from A to B while I was under their care.
Gee, doing genealogy work on a Korean family like that must be absolute hell. Yeah, because the county commissioner's office that I contacted, and I'm waiting for a call back from, his name is Andy Wynn, spelled exactly like yours. So that's why I mentioned how many are going to be involved with this now. Okay, so what happens at this so-called hearing?
I'm sorry, talking obviously going crazy.
Yeah, it's just going to be one of those days. What happened at this hearing that you were just describing to us?
All right, so they walked me in. Magistrate said you might be seated. I sat down, and they were saying, basically, this is kind of just me relying on memory. Your bond, it's been reinstated. That's on the record. We're going to agree to getting your next appearance for March 8th. And you'll be released till then. And then that's when I started asking the magistrate who everybody was. Like, I knew who the two uniforms were because I've seen them before at the 18th hearing. But I didn't know the little girl that was sitting to my right. So now I know she's the prosecutor. I asked her, who's that? And I asked her, is it normal for now at this point of the, whatever it led up to this point that I'm just now seeing who's trying to accuse me of something or meet a prosecutor? And the public defender was like, oh, yeah, it's one's adversary, blah, 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 bullshit. And I was like, whatever. Well, I asked the judge, is there, or magistrate, is there a claimant here? And she said, huh, or something to that matter. And I was like, well, I followed it up with, who is making a claim against me today? And she goes, well, I'm going to let Judge Cheril Hardy deal with that one. And that was the last thing that was on the record prior to my release.
Did you get a chance, and so you didn't get a chance to answer if the prosecution had submitted any evidence to show that there was jurisdiction to hold you at all?
I didn't stay on point. I was in a jumpsuit ready to get out of there.
I understand. I would just point out for you and those listening that we want to stay focused. Yeah. We don't need to get into who's making the claim. Let's just attack the claim that we know is being made. So regardless of who's actually making the claim, if they do not have any evidence to support it, then it could be the Crown, it could be anybody, So it could be Andy Wynn. So it doesn't matter. So let's focus on the prosecution's evidence to support their claim, regardless of who's actually making it. But I understand. I mean, this is quite a thing. You went to jail. You had to do a psych eval, and I'm glad that at least was the psych evaluation done in jail.
It was in a cage that I was in, through a door, just peeking through a door, just like if you were to walk in a cage with a piece of glass to it and you were talking to me. That's how it was done. He had a notepad, and he wrote down about 3 notes, and that was it.
How long did this psych eval take? And I'm putting psych eval in quotes.
About 5 minutes, being generous.
How many questions do you think he asked you in those 5 minutes?
Gosh, quite a few. I wrote some of them down. I can probably recall some of them. What do you do? Just kind of, assuming like what do you do for a living? Like, it's just a different, people just talk. I mean, and we make presumptions, you know what I mean? So I just assumed, probably 20 22 questions.
Did he ask you if you were a sovereign? Did he ask if you were a sovereign citizen?
Nope.
Did he ask you if you're any kind of freeman or an anarchist, or did he ask if you had a problem with authority figures?
Nope.
Did he ask you questions about your anxiety? This alleged, well, I shouldn't say alleged, but because he put in the report that you sent to me, he mentioned at least twice about you having anxiety.
Nope.
You know,
he didn't mention anything about that.
What an interesting thing to focus on, as you know, multiple times. You're in there for a psychological evaluation, and you're in jail. Who would not have anxiety if they're in jail? What an I'm sorry, but this, especially since I spoke to the guy for just a few moments and he hung up on me. What a jerk! What a buffoon! Anxiety. Gee, you know, what? Who the hell are you? Are you here just to state the obvious? The guy's in jail. Oh, did all your training, you know, give you the intelligence to do that? Oh, I have a peaceful man who's been forced into jail. He says he's exhibiting anxiety. Yeah, no kidding, you jackass. Why don't we take you at gunpoint and throw your ass in a cage? We'll see how you feel then, you know? Oh, so there's in the report that you sent to me that this guy does say something about a personality disorder. What the hell is that supposed to mean?
It's unspecified. He doesn't know.
Yeah, I read the report that you sent me. There's nothing specific about what he means by personality disorder. So I want to get back to that when we are back from the break. So let me mute you back up there, Bao. My name is Mark Stevens. We're discussing Bao's week in jail and forced psych evaluation in front of the brilliant psychologist, PhD psychologist, Barry Norman. People in jail have anxiety, so we'll finish that when we get back in just a few moments, so don't go away. Yes, welcome back. You're listening to the No State Project here on the Liberty Radio Network. It's LRN.FM, baby. It is January. Oh, I'm gonna keep doing it. It's February 3rd, 2018, and we're talking with Bao and his ordeal because of the monster Cheril Hardy there in Tarrant County. She's one of them lawyers with the robe on. And so welcome back, Bao. And so there's no indication by the eminent psychologist, the Dr. Barry Norman, there's no indication of what he means by personality disorder that he puts into this assessment that he did for his compadre there, Cheril Hardy. Do you have any inclination, any clue as to what he might mean by that?
No, not really.
No, I think this is just the thing he's doing. He's going through the motions, a 5-minute, and to think that he could do a valid psychological evaluation on somebody that he talks to for just a few minutes. I guess in some extreme cases, you know, you might be able to get a lot of information, but on somebody who is under the circumstances you're there, 5 minutes is not much. Although I got to tell you, from 16 seconds on the phone with him, I have a pretty good I have a pretty low opinion of him just from that. Only a real unprofessional, rude scumbag would just hang up the phone like that. Not even a hey, I appreciate the call. I'm not interested. It's not something that's appropriate. I'm a psychologist. Nothing, just to hang up the phone. So that tells me a bit about him. So I don't need 5 minutes with Barry Norman to know he's a jerk.
Yeah, he's a character. Walked around in shape up, older guy, pretty big, not fluffy, just a bigger guy, big fat older guy. Not overweight, but just doesn't look real good. Pretty evil looking guy, like kind of like a genius evil doctor.
I couldn't find any pictures of him. There's very, very very little information. There is actually less information about him on the internet than there was about that Stephen Myrie that I did the tyranny spotlight on, or the tranny spotlight on for some. So if anyone has a picture or can get a picture of the guy, I'd love the opportunity to be able to post it. So where are we sitting now? You have a March 8th pretrial?
I don't know what it is. That's one of the things I'm going to be working on, is to figure out what the obligation is going to be for March 8th, because as of right now, I haven't been informed of anything.
Yeah, the big problem you have is that they forced an attorney on you, so you can't file your own paperwork.
Well, he's not on at the motions, or at that hearing I was at. The only thing I agreed to I'll speak to him, but I denied an attorney. I've never accepted an attorney.
Well, it's not something that we have to accept, though. I mean, if the judge forces the attorney on you, you're screwed. So, find out for sure, because I would say to definitely, get the motion to dismiss, if you haven't already, the discovery request, and if you have, then to get ready the motion in limine and the motion to dismiss for prosecutorial misconduct. But until we know for sure if this attorney is representing you, if they're counsel of record, you won't be able to do that. We'll have to seek remedy some other, in the higher court.
Yeah, I got. There's a little piece of paper it's like a cover page on the file, and it says no attorney on it. That's the last thing that's on the log.
Nice. So then you can file the motion to dismiss for prosecutorial misconduct yourself.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'll probably be there Monday, doing all that. I have the template already for the Grand Prairie thing I dealt with, so I'll just go through it and put Prosecutor Kirby's name in there, I guess, and get all that submitted. And I'll document that.
I'd file a motion to disqualify the monster Cheril Hardy on the grounds that she arbitrarily and vindictively ordered you to be held without bond and a forced psych evaluation when she had absolutely no grounds whatsoever to do something like that. This is a vindictive...
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, this is a vindictive woman, so get with me off air, and I do have a template to go. So this is a little different than our usual, but you definitely would want to put in that she vindictively and arbitrarily ordered a psychological evaluation when she had absolutely no factual grounds whatsoever to do that. The fact that there's Dr. Barry Norman, the fact that he hung up on me so fast without exhibiting any professionalism whatsoever tells me something screwy going on in this relationship. So, but I'll find out more about that. Hopefully there's somebody in the county at Andy Wynn's office, he was the county commissioner there, Precinct 2, that they're able to do something to help. We'll see. So
yeah, I might reach out to them. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so that's something I would definitely get on, is the motion to dismiss. So you have to show that she should be disqualified for cause because she's so biased against you, a fair trial is not possible. She's already letting the prosecutor engage in prosecutorial misconduct, and she falsely questions your sanity because all you do is ask a question. All you're doing is trying to defend yourself against these the prosecutor's claims, and she's questioning your sanity.
Yeah.
So, do you have any other questions or concerns before we're at the top of the hour break?
Oh no, dude. Just doing motions and that's the one thing I don't enjoy, but I'll do them. But just learning and kind of having fun with this whole thing.
Well, I'm glad you could put it that way after what you went through. So it sucks that I would also suggest, because you already have sufficient damage now, I would get an initial claim for damages in against the county for what the monster Cheril Hardy did to you. Get that? And I'm happy to help with that. But you could put right in there, it's very simple. There was all you did was literally ask a question, and she ordered a psych evaluation. And then because of that, you spent about a week in jail. So you've missed work, you've missed seeing friends and family, obviously, and you have a doctor's note saying that you suffered from anxiety because of it.
I do.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you're in good spirits after something like that. It's a horrendous thing that this woman did, and it could have been a lot worse. But thank goodness.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, they didn't put you in
It could have
solitary.
been real bad.
Yeah, the way Jermaine was treated up in Canada was disgraceful. So he was spending 23 hours a day locked down. They didn't order a psych eval, but it was pretty bad. 23-hour lockdown. That's pretty bad. And some of the things that he had to experience. He was put in jeopardy on one of the 1 hours he was out. So he could have been hurt pretty bad. So I'm glad things worked out better. Hopefully we hear from Terry soon, and he's got similar. He's in similar spirits.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Like I said, don't never take my spirits ever. So
I'm glad to hear that. And again, this is a nonviolent offense. This is I don't know if you've mentioned it before, but do you want to tell everybody what they're actually charging you with?
Possession of marijuana under 2 ounces. I had about an eighth on me, a grinder, and a pipe that I used to smoke it out of. And they took it all, and it's still into possession. I haven't seen that pipe grinder or the 3 grams I had, 3.5 grams maybe.
Well, the cops have either smoked it or they have sold it. So that's definitely gone. So so here you're a regular guy. You're not accused of anything violent, and look what this woman does to you. And this is what I think the claim against the insurance really comes down to this. And I would make it 5,000-6,000. Is it grounds to order a psych evaluation because you asked a question about about the prosecution's case, and however they answer that determines whether you have a valid claim or not. I believe that it's not grounds. So, but Bao, I do appreciate the update. We're up against the break, so I appreciate you calling in, and I'm glad to hear that you're doing well. My name is Mark Stevens. You're listening to the No State Project right here on the Liberty Radio Network. We're at the top of the hour break, but we've got a full line of calls to get to. We'll try to get to everybody, so don't go away. We've got a whole lot of stuff to still get to. Just welcome back. You're listening to the No State Project here on LRN.FM. I'm Mark Stevens. And it's February 3rd. We're live from the fortified compound in San Bernardino, California, where we are every other week here for the big broadcast. And I'm glad to be with you here. The number 218-632-9399, 218-632-9399. The passcode is 2020, and Skype, of course, is Frank Rizzo 3. And before I get to the calls, I do want to point out, I normally wouldn't do something like this, but I think, at least for the attention that this could bring, I think it might be worth it. If we know anybody who is a lawyer who is sympathetic to the to freedom and anarchy and they live in Tarrant County, Texas, this monster is running unopposed for her judgeship. This Cheril Hardy. So she's up for election. The general election is November 6th, and she's unopposed. The last few times she has run unopposed. No one is running against this monster. Maybe we've got somebody at least to put in a run so that they can get some local media attention, so that they can get on local television and say, this woman, this is what Cheril Hardy does. This is what kind of person she is. She is a psychopath. She puts people in jail, holds them without bond, and orders psychological evaluations just because they asked a question. This is not somebody who should be a judge again, ever. And hey, make her come out of the damn woodwork. Take that stupid black robe off and defend her action. I'm not going to discuss it. Yeah, well, you have no choice. If she's running, say, do you normally put people in jail and order a psych eval because they asked you a question? Bo could even appear on TV and say, yeah, this is what she did to me. Bow. I'm sorry, Bow. So maybe this is something that we can get behind. She's unopposed, so someone could run as an independent against her. Unfortunately, you do have to be 25 years old, be a so-called resident for at least 2 years prior, and you had to have been served as a judge or practiced law prior to for 4 years prior to the election. So let's see what we got. Somebody put up and go against this monster, Cheril Hardy. My gosh, she's been unopposed all these years. It's about time that we stop this. So, hey, maybe it's a way to get her off the ballot by going to the Secretary of State or at the county level, whoever controls that, and showing that this woman's not fit to run because she's a psychopath, the antisocial personality disorder over here. All right, so enough of that. We're going to get back to the calls. We have a new caller, area code 814. You're live on the No State Project. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Mark. My name's James. I'm calling from Oregon.
James from Oregon. What do you got for us today?
Well, I want to tell you, I want to get all the niceties of fellatio out the way. So I really love this, and I just kind of got into it, and a buddy of mine got me into it, and it's kind of been a sort of secret charge my whole life. I hate this, and they are not right, and we are right. So I find myself in the not so unique position to maybe do something like this in the future. Let's just say that hypothetically, that if federal agents had seized the package at a post office, and therefore they would want to investigate that and come find if they can allege any charges against somebody, I will be using this plan that everybody, and I don't know who the head of No State is, or if there is a head, or if you guys committed, or whatnot. I know you guys are very compartmentalized. You don't like to consider yourselves governing, and obviously that's great. So, I don't know who to thank, but I shake everybody's hand who's in this and thank them personally if I meet them, because this is about connectivity. This is really about having the numbers of people saying that you are not valid in this contract. And the more we do it, and the more we put it on paper, and the more we object, and the more we do point of clarifications and relevances, and I think it's working, right? It's working.
Well, we do have a pretty good success rate. In fact, I can see that he's been on the show before, and I haven't been able to post it yet, but we have Eric in California who's going, hopefully we have enough time, we should be able to get to him to discuss his recent success. And so, in fact, he's got 2 recent successes, and one's not traffic, so I do need to get I'm really behind because I wanted to do the tyranny spotlight before I do the success stories. Because I didn't want it to be old news. And so, someone maybe explain this to me. I posted one of the pictures of Stephen Myrie today on Imager. And I thought it was it's the picture that I did from his college yearbook, and it says most likely to engage in flagrant prosecutorial misconduct, which, so you get a chuckle at. And all day it's been up there. It's gotten 1 view. How is it even remotely possible? Maybe I just don't understand how that site works, but I think I wasted...
I don't even have it.
I'm sorry?
I don't even have it, because I don't even have Imager or Instagram or Facebook. I deny all that. It really is just constant advertisement and proof that you may have consigned to something, and proof that you, in your statements, that you might be held responsible for something. So, unless you're really talking about things that are not relatively particular to you. I just, other than connectivity, there's other ways to connect with people too. But
yeah, that's true.
Other than that, I'm not on Imager either. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm more into research of fact than people's opinions and people's pictures of them drinking on a bridge at night. So
I just figured
stuff is irrelevant.
I hadn't posted there in a long time. I figured, what the hell? Maybe something like this will get some traction, and it didn't. So at least on my YouTube channel, and I hate Facebook, but I use it just to get the word. Anyway, so let's get to this. There is no actual organization. The No State Project is the name of the radio show, and we are just, anyone participating in court procedure and whatnot, and it's just, it's just a number of people who are interested in bringing about a volunteer society and exposing these people for what they are. So, That's what we do here on the show.
They get promoted for exactly what you said. They get promoted for malicious prosecution. That's why they get promoted. If you did your job and screwed everybody, we want you in the higher areas because you're going to keep doing it for us. Because our only motivation for you is to keep you safe with immunity and give you money. Because guess what would happen if you tried to sue the judge? They would file for the motion for the essential elements of jurisdiction.
Yeah,
and for dismissal,
sovereign immunity, and
then they would get it.
And absolutely,
yeah. That's the
yeah. Oh, yeah. They're definitely crooks.
Yeah,
What's interesting though with Stephen Myrie, he actually got demoted. He was the acting U.S. attorney, and now he's just an assistant U.S. attorney. And so somebody else is now the acting U.S. attorney. So apparently he really pissed off the wrong judge. He did it in an extremely high-profile prosecution, and one that was probably costing millions of dollars, and they can't go after the Bundys again, period. So the judge definitely, Navarro, she threw it out with prejudice. They can't, and let me explain, for those who are new, to throw out an indictment with prejudice, because it encroaches on the prosecutor's discretion to charge, it has to rise to a level of so much prejudice against the defendant that that prejudice outweighs the prosecution's charging authority. And so this Judge Navarro threw it out because Stephen Myrie has a history of flagrant, willful, bad faith misconduct. And no one's punished him before, and he still hasn't been punished, other than to be demoted publicly. But I'm sure everyone's slapping him on the back and saying, it happens. It's an Obama judge, and she effing libtard. He's still going to go on and not miss a day's work, and he's going to. And the only thing they're going to take away from this is that maybe if when you do this, don't make it so flagrant that one of these libtard judges will throw it out. But hold on just a second, James. We'll get into what you called about in just a moment. My name is Mark Stevens. We got a full line of calls, so I'm not going to give the number out anymore. I'm going to do my best to get to everybody because we got a lot of stuff to still cover. We'll be back with James in Oregon in just a few moments here on the No State Project, so don't go anywhere. Yeah, my paisan, Chris Case, on the Strat. If you're in Key West, definitely check out what Chris Case is playing. And also Caffeine Carl Wagner. Welcome back, everybody. It's February 3rd, 2018. And also Libertopia 2018 is coming up in May 3rd through the 6th. So sign up at libertopia.org. I'm looking forward to being out there again and hopefully get a jam together with the guys with Barnwell Swift, Bill and the guys who have the Living Tea Brewing Company there in Oceanside, California. I need to get that. And yes, it is 420. Speaking of, I need to get to Oceanside again and play some more blues. Hopefully all the guys will do it enough in advance so we can have all the guys and the drums and everything and have some fun. But I want to bring back, we're talking with James in Oregon. So James, what can we do for you today?
Okay, so the point I just got you just let me in your chat room. Let me fix that. All right, just better now.
That's much better. And that's a beauty. I can cut all that out for the podcast.
Okay. All right. So I posed a question in your chat room that, it's hard typing in Word with a bunch of people talking to, it's hard to get it out, but in spoken word, it's going to be a little easier for me. So what I said is, in written in your chat room was, can you specifically ask a judge as a point of clarification if the prosecution has provided them with a tangible, quote unquote, paper wherein I have sound mind and body have relinquished jurisdiction to the alleged complainant? And H and K was one of the guys in there. I think that's his sign. He was like, well, you don't want to really ask for specifics. You want to ask if there's anything and then let them back themselves into a corner where they say yes and then make them prove it. But essentially, to presume that anything exists in intangibility means that it's presumed not to be in evidence, so that the only thing that you could have to say that I relinquish jurisdiction is evidence of which would be in writing. It can't be a handshake. I can't wave my hand at a judge and go, hey, I relinquish it while I'm riding by him in the streets. So to pose the question to them, do you have anything? The judge goes, well, yes, I have my own mind, and that's something I can definitely say that there's jurisdiction now, because in my mind there is.
What we're asking.
So,
But the thing is, we're asking if the prosecution has any evidence, not anything. Do they have any evidence? And evidence meaning information that proves or tends to prove a proposition. So it has a meaning. So the reason why we want them to say whether there's evidence is because we're going to follow it up and be more specific because we know they don't have it.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, to pin them down, like, Your Honor, point of clarification, isn't the prosecution is supposed to provide you with evidence of jurisdiction? Is that not a part of this arraignment? And then I would always say alleged in front of all that stuff. But, to point out that I don't have to proclaim that it's physical evidence, that it physically exists. You're saying that. That's why we're here. I'm using your words. Your complainant is saying she has physical evidence, or he has physical evidence, and therefore we have brought everybody here at gunpoint. Well, at least my party.
I don't know if in most of these prosecutions that we deal with, that they're saying that there's physical evidence of jurisdiction. Most of the time, the issue of jurisdiction is just assumed. It's not something that's spelled out in the complaint, especially if you're just getting a traffic ticket or a minor possession charge. They're just assuming that. So it's not spelled out like that. And that's why we ask them, in a general sense, has the prosecution presented any evidence to prove that that there's jurisdiction over me to even have an arraignment? The big word there, of course, is evidence. Have they presented evidence, which we know that they don't have? So we use a general statement to get them to make an admission and get some dialogue on it, so that we can then move on and be more specific. Because like I tell everybody, we're always going from the general to the specific, because they have safety. The general sounds good. But once you start getting more specific, that, okay, then it all falls apart.
I guess that would be necessarily the point, is be general until they're specific, and then attack those specific points. Because once they become specific, they have to produce.
But we're the ones asking the leading question to make them be more specific. So when they do answer that, yes, the prosecution has presented evidence, then you're asking your leading question, what evidence is that? Is it on the ticket? And it's up to them.
That's what I mean. Verbiage is so important. I mean, should you be asking, in what specific nature is that evidence on the ticket? You know what I mean? Like, I understand wording can damn you in certain situations, and I've watched a lot of videos, and I've seen guys screw up through a whole entire hearing, and they still did a good job. So you don't have to lose everything by misstepping, obviously. Well, but it's very important that you make this as short as possible in your life, because of the amount of time you will have to invest in it.
Well, the thing is, we don't have, since you mentioned time, we don't have that much time when you're actually engaging them. When you've got people like Dick Noble and the monster Cheril Hardy in Texas, you only have a couple minutes, so you have to you have to keep it to the point, keep it focused, and we try to make it as easy as possible. That's why I talk so much about asking leading questions. It's going to be, as long as you know you're asking leading questions and clarifying questions and getting from the vague or the general to the specific, you can do pretty well even if you have a few missteps. The biggest thing is keeping people focused on the most important aspect of the prosecution's case, and that is, if you're physically in Oregon, our laws apply. That, like I've said so many times, it's always bears repeating, because thank goodness we got new people every time, every show. Without that, nothing else is actually relevant. And like I mentioned, I think I said on the show the other day that relevance, when you're in court, relevance is king. Nothing matters if it's not relevant. And
right, so if they say your physical location is setting the precedence for jurisdiction, then you can object to that about relevance.
Well, you're objecting on assuming facts, not in evidence. Exactly how, and I'm willing to plead guilty here today, sir. Exactly how does my physical presence prove that a written instrument called a Constitution applies to me and gives you jurisdiction over me? How does that work? Right.
Well, I just read No Treason.
Nice.
The Constitution of No Authority, and it was given to me from a guy you probably know that's in the same area that I am in. I know you have a lot of callers, and you've definitely answered my question. And I don't want to be on the phone with you all day, because there's other people like me that are brand new that need to talk to somebody at a moment's notice or on a Saturday
Sure. Well, we're getting near the end of the segment,
Eastern.
so I'm not going to bring somebody up just yet. So we'll finish and we'll go another minute or so until the end of the segment. Because the worst thing is when you bring some. That's why I don't bring anybody up usually on the first segment of the hour, or the first one of the show. So all right. So you just now this week read Spooner's No Treason?
Actually, I've been studying for about to this point right now. I've probably got 20 hours in. I've been studying since yesterday or the day before yesterday at night, and then I studied all day yesterday. I've been taking notes and being diligent about it because I will not ever concede. I refuse to. And when I was a kid, they made me concede that I wasn't aware of my rights or anything, and my parents were terrible, and they were great parents, but they're like, no, you go confess. And I got snitched out for being in a place one time where a bunch of other people robbed a place, and then they snitched me out, and I get 2 felonies as a juvenile.
Oh, that sucks.
So there was.
Well, we're up against the break, so we got about 20 seconds.
And then Judge Dimitrovich in Pennsylvania. Let me.
Well, we're at a time. We're going to have to hear this on another segment.
Yeah,
My name's Mark Stevens. You're listening to the No State Project here on LRN.FM, the Liberty Radio Network. Well, we've got a full boat of calls as we usually do here on the big show, so don't go away. We got a lot more to still get to. Yes, welcome back. That's Chris Case ripping it up there on the Strat. I'm glad to be with you here for February 3rd, 2018. I want to finish up, bring James in Oregon back. So, James, you were telling us about I think you were talking about a judge.
Well, real quick, because I want to stay on point. Damn it, this echo. So I went in front of a judge for these things, and we were going for deferment as a juvenile, and she later on in life was charged with crimes and had to step down, but.
Nice.
In my state, they were running juvenile mills. They were adjudicating with no grounds, and placing kids in moneymakers. So when I went in front of her, I literally stood in front of her for 2 seconds. She was like, "Okay, we're ready for adjudication." And my whole family and my shitty public defender who showed up 2 minutes before the case goes, "Whoa! This is deferment. We have signatures and whatnot." And she goes, "Oh, okay, deferment." Ding. And this is what they've taught everybody growing up, so that's why we're so complacent as a people to submit. And that is, recently, and since the development of the internet and high speed and everything and the access to it is whittling away, thankfully.
Thank goodness for that.
We're not going to be able to stand alone outside. In court, you have to stand alone. That is what it is. You've got to do it all yourself. Ain't nobody going to do it for you because you can't give them jurisdiction. But out in the streets, we need each other. This is very important.
Yeah.
This is the most important charge I'm probably going to ever take on in my life. And I really appreciate you guys. I really appreciate everybody.
Well,
all 453 in the Skype, everything. You.
Thank you. So before you go, maybe what you can do is you can prep and get ready and go to a city council meeting and ask them the questions regarding, hey, I know you guys operate under the presumption that if I'm physically in Oregon, your laws apply to me, and that gives you jurisdiction. My question to the council is, do any of you have any evidence to prove that's true? And then the other one being, if you have the opportunity or you have to go to another one, is to ask them, hey, if I did business like you guys and I forced perfect strangers to give me money, would you consider me a criminal? And get that on YouTube.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, excellent.
No,
Let me know if you're planning on going.
I'm busy studying right now. I have to do the work, but this is just going to be exponentially greater for me as I go on because I have to be sure of my words before I go in there. So, absolutely. But I am putting in 12 hours a day, 15 hours a day, so it should pan out, hopefully.
Well, that's more than what I do. But hey, let me know when you're planning on going, and I can help. I'll write the questions out for you.
Yes, absolutely. Brainstorming is one of my favorite things. So please, I will. I'll get a hold of you.
All right, James. Appreciate the call.
Yeah, thank you, Mark.
All right. James in Oregon. We're going to move on. He's been on the show before. Also, we've got Ron in California. Ron, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Mark. How's it going?
It's going well. I hope we improve your audio, though.
Yeah, hang on a second.
You can delete all this out of the podcast, which is good.
Yeah, is that better?
It is. So what do you got for us today?
Okay. So, one thing, a personality disorder can mean just about anything. It kind of means you're different or eccentric. And Bao probably meets that criterion. And the judge doesn't have to be a psychiatrist or a psychologist to order, or a monster to order a psych eval of someone. It's just, in her opinion, the person doesn't understand the process that's going on. And if she feels he doesn't meet the process, or then she can legitimately have a psych eval. Doesn't make her a monster.
Putting someone
in
in
the same way, when you call people psychopathic, you have no training in psychology, now do you?
No, but that's why I say psychopathic tendencies and traits. I'm not making a clinical diagnosis. What I'm saying is that
right, but but you're saying that person has a psychological, some sort of disorder.
But I'm not doing it on no grounds. I'm not doing it as a punishment and to be a douchebag. What I'm doing it is saying, looking at the behavior that they are exhibiting and the words that they're saying and the manner in which they're doing that, and saying this tends to fall or seems to fall under some of the characteristics of antisocial behavior. So the reason why I call Cheril Hardy a monster is Bao asked a question. If you put somebody and you separate them and you put them in jail and you order a psych eval on that alone, yeah, you are exhibiting psychopathic behavior.
What question did he ask?
He asked if jurisdiction was an element of the charge.
And that's the only reason she did it? Now, that doesn't sound realistic.
He's got it recorded. Other people have heard it.
Okay, then I'm sorry. It doesn't make sense that if I said, is there 12 inches in a foot? And you said yes. And I said, okay, how do you know that? And you say, well, there's 12 inches in a foot. And then I say, I don't believe you. And you say, okay, string beans. Bao probably wasn't making sense in court. And that's why the judge ordered a psych eval, because it costs money to hold somebody, and it costs money to keep them up. It costs probably $500 to have the shrink talk to him for 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's all about lining the pockets of them, but putting people in jail makes the money. A lot of these judges, it's been shown, judges and legislators have, they get kickbacks.
Where is it shown that a judge makes money by incarcerating people?
Because you have private prisons, and judges, not a lot, but there are cases where judges have been caught getting kickbacks. So like the most famous one recently is where the kids for jail in Pennsylvania, where a judge actually went to prison for this, where they were putting children into this private detention facility and the judges were getting kickbacks. You also have the case of Jan Brewer, who was a more recent example where a governor signed a law instantly making thousands of people more into criminals that had to be housed in CCA, where she had a financial interest in that. So, the issue that I take too with what you said though there, Ron, is not understanding court procedure is not a valid reason to hold someone against their will and have a psychological evaluation. A lot of people don't understand court procedure because they're not doctors of law, and they haven't been to law school, and they've never been to court before. That doesn't mean they deserve, or that's grounds to have a psychological evaluation. Psychological evaluation has nothing to do with your understanding of the legal system. That I got to disagree with you there.
Well, let's take Robbie for example. If of the charge, and they said you refused to obey a policeman, tells him, 7 or 8 judges tell him the exact same thing, and he says, but I don't understand. Well, what is that telling you? Is that telling you that there's something wrong with Robbie, or that there's something wrong with the 7 or 8 different people who have told him the nature of the charge?
Well, knowing Robbie as I do and knowing judges as I do, I would say that I would question more what the 7 judges were doing. And even if he's claiming
I would question more with what Robbie was doing.
Well, and there may be something to that, but I've spoken with Robbie, and I have a pretty good understanding regarding what was happening. If you look at another example, you've got Dick Noble, and we have on the show, and I don't remember if I played the audio now, but we have a judge within a minute freaking out and throwing someone in jail for literally, all the guy did was ask a question, and the guy went to jail. And I believe that there was a psych eval threatened. I don't remember if they carried through on that. So you're not going to be able to convince me that not understanding the court system is a valid reason for a psychological exam. But I want to get back to the Robbie issue because we're up against the break. So just hold on one moment. We're up against the break. We're going to talk with Ron in California some more regarding Robbie's situation in Oregon. And even if he didn't understand, is that a reason to order a psychological evaluation on somebody? That I don't think the two are necessary. I don't think the two have any meaningful connection. Yes, welcome back to the No State Project. Unfortunately, we were talking with Ron in California, and it looks like he dropped off. I know he was on the line for a while, as most of them, everyone waiting online has been. I did want to finish this. A couple things here. I personally do not like or advocate that anybody use the I don't understand Patriot Freeman type thing. I don't believe that is what Robbie was doing. Robbie was always looking for a clarification and looking for evidence. So it puts us in a bad spot because we know in advance how they are, that I don't understand. You know, I know that was like a silver bullet with Patriot types 15, 20 years ago. But so I don't suggest doing that. I always focus on, does the prosecutor have the damn evidence to support their claims? That's it. The idea, though, that even if you don't understand court procedure, that it's one thing to not be competent in law to be able to defend yourself. We all have that disability. The Supreme Court stated in Gideon versus Wainwright that all non-lawyers are incompetent legally to defend themselves because they don't understand the proceedings. Now, that is completely different than ordering a psychological examination. When you order a psychological evaluation to see if somebody is competent to aid in their defense, that is, do they have the mental capacity to understand the proceedings and the consequences of certain things? That is not the same as not. It's a world of difference. And I know that, Ron, you know, there's a problem with some people grasping that judges will fly into a rage just because they're asked a question. I know. I've seen it firsthand. We have a recording that I should have uploaded to my website, to my YouTube channel, where somebody went and recorded the judge doing this. And within a minute, he was screaming, and he was taken to jail. And he was ordered, he was supposed to have 30 days contempt. I think he went out, he got out a day or two later. Does it happen every time we go to court? No. But you've got these people who exhibit psychopathic or antisocial behavior. People like Herbert Pierpan, Dick Noble. Herbert Pierpan flew into a rage against Mike. Went and lied, saying that Mike wasn't even there. I stepped up as a member of the media to ask a question, and he screamed at me that he was going to have me arrested if I didn't leave immediately. This is not normal behavior. But they have a platform to do this to us, and they have immunity, and they do it. Now, it's not a high percentage of them that do that, but they do. I've said the psychological exam, thank goodness it's very rare. It does happen all too often for me because it shouldn't be happening at all. And what is so hard to believe that a judge would fly into a rage when asked a question? They're in a position of dominance, no responsibility whatsoever. They're violent individuals. They don't like being questioned. And when you ask them something and it destroys the facade of legitimacy that they are so desperate to keep in place, yeah, they tend to get, some of them tend to get upset. Again, it's not the majority of them, it's a slim minority. Dick Noble is not representative of every judge. Neither is Cheril Hardy. But any of them is too many. And no, I am not, so I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but I can certainly look at the what Dr. Hare has put out and other qualified psychiatrists and doctors and say that these are the characteristics of this particular disorder. And callous disregard for others, not taking, having adult coping skills, not taking, questioning well, and lying. There you go. Dick Noble, Cheril Hardy. A judge can order psych evaluation for any reason or no reason at all. That doesn't mean it's right. What we're making is we're making a moral judgment there. It's wrong. What Cheril Hardy did was wrong. And she's a monster, in my opinion, because she is so easily able to change the course of somebody's life without even, she probably doesn't even remember Bal's name. And she so callously ordered a psychological evaluation. What do you call? How would you question at all the mental capacity or the motives of somebody who puts someone in jail who's peaceful? Holding somebody against their will who is peaceful. That in and of itself is all the information I need to know about what type of person this is. They are callous. They are criminal. To then order a psychological evaluation? Why? Why? Because he asked a question? Even if he asked the question 100 times, it doesn't mean he's crazy. You order a psychological evaluation, you damn well better have grounds for it. And I hope that Bal can find somebody, someone that other people we know in Tarrant County can run against this monster. Anyhow. We got somebody. Let's bring up Eric in California. Eric, welcome back to the big show. You have good news for us, right?
Yeah. Hey, Mark. Let's see. I got the traffic ticket dismissed, and I got the restraining order dismissed as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. I know, and I appreciate you sending me that. I need to get it posted.
Yeah, you do. It's been, what, a week?
Okay.
You've been sitting on it?
But in my defense, I did get over 4 hours of video posted this past week. Well, over 3 hours of video.
That's good.
So it's not too bad.
All right.
I will get that stuff posted, though, so I do appreciate it. And they put you through the ringer on the one in Massachusetts. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, I had to plead guilty to the violations of it, but I at least got the restraining order that was still in place terminated. For the other party didn't show up to court. Not sure why, but the judge didn't hesitate. He terminated it based on the motions I submitted, I would assume. So
you put up
validates the work.
You put up a defense, and just like with the traffic ticket in California, you put up a logical, effective defense, and the plaintiff doesn't show up to defend their complaint. So,
yeah, the traffic.
One second, because look, we have to hold out that it's possible that there's more. Look, there's always more than one explanation you have to allow for, and you have to look at the evidence, direct and circumstantial, and see which explanation is better supported by the evidence. And here you've got a logical, effective defense that there isn't evidence. They couldn't. Neither plaintiff could present the evidence, and so both plaintiffs decided not to pursue their claim. So the circumstantial evidence says that, yeah, it most likely points towards they knew, they didn't have the evidence, they couldn't make their case, so they walked away.
Exactly. The cop, I sent you the information. Based on his oath, he's supposed to enforce the constitutions of both California state and the country. And when I asked him for evidence of it in his response to my motion for discovery, he said he had none except for the citation, the ticket, that the Constitution's applied to me. He never showed up to court. That was you should do a separate show just on him and the responses I got from the police department, the city attorney.
Well, I can do that. I'm glad that more people are now starting to message me and say, hey, how do I get this so-and-so on the tyranny spotlight, or the training spotlight, as it's probably going to be known from now on. So, yeah, I'm happy to do that. Usually when we get a response back from them, because it's very rare that we do, but typically when we do get a response, it's comical, and it's always worth posting because it is so ridiculous. The ticket.
Exactly.
Yeah. So U.S. versus Bailey, we mentioned that on the last show. The ticket is not evidence. It may list evidence, but it's not. And so there's got to be something on the ticket that qualifies as evidence. So let me mute you up there a second, Eric. We'll be back. We'll finish in the next segment. Wow, we're going into the second of 3 hours of Anarchy Radio right here on LRN.FM. My name is Mark Stevens. We'll be back with your calls. We'll do our best to get to everybody. So we got a lot to get to, so don't go away. We'll be right back. Yes, welcome back to the No State Project. Of course, the old Freddie King song, Same Old Blues, done by my paisan, Chris Case of Key West. Welcome back, everybody. Glad to be back here. And real quick, Mark is asked for my business, do I have an ethics code? And I live my life by a simple principle of do no harm. I live honestly, injure no one, give everyone their due. It sucks that Aristotle was a slave owner and actually suggested that states were natural. But, hey, you can't, what he said was right, and a lot of what he said was absolutely right. So, not excusing the whole slave thing, but, hey, it's a good quote. It's a good ethics code, a moral code. Live honestly, injure no one, give every man their due. We'll give everyone their due. All right, so welcome back to the show. We're talking with Eric in California. When you pick up right where we left off.
All right. Remind me real quick, where did we leave off?
Are you serious here?
With my cases.
We were talking about how the plaintiffs didn't show up.
Oh, they didn't show up. I mean, a cop just couldn't handle it, I'm sure, after speaking with the police manager or spokesperson, I guess, and just how unprofessional she was. I sent you a copy of our notes. And she considered the fact that I was questioning the law and if it applied to me. She goes, oh, that's just mumbo jumbo to these officers. And I said, so you look at the law as just mumbo jumbo and you go out and arbitrarily apply this every day. But the police officer's oath says he's supposed to enforce the state constitution and the federal constitution. And then she hung up on me pretty much after that. No response from the city attorney.
Her name wasn't Sarah. Her name wasn't Sarah Richardson, was it?
No.
Okay, that was one I spoke to.
Something, I believe.
Yeah, I spoke to a lieutenant.
Milligan?
I spoke to a Lieutenant Sarah Richardson, and she didn't hang up on me, but she did. She was very adamant that after speaking with counsel, that she was advised not to speak to me. Period. So. You can ask all your questions in court. I don't even know why I did it in that voice, but she's not from New York. But that's what she said. I can ask all the questions in court. So, and that's going to be in March. So we'll see what she has. We'll see what they have to say then. So, and I think it's interesting that it's mumbo jumbo. It's written in 8th grade level English. And it's mumbo jumbo. So the evidence that their claims are based on, they don't understand that. That's mumbo jumbo to them. Ay vey.
Yeah, exactly. This officer just recently was promoted to a detective as well. So it went from traffic cop to detective. And I told the city attorney, I'm like, how can you promote this guy? He doesn't even know the laws. He has no personal firsthand knowledge of the laws to testify. I'm like, come on. What are you guys running over here?
They're running a
It's
very violent
arbitrarily
business.
enforced.
Yeah, a very violent business. So, well, hey, I do appreciate that you called and we got those thrown out. We'll do, I'll be back home tomorrow night, so I will be working on getting the success story videos up. I'm probably going to do all the success stories in one video. So we've got a few from you. I've got like 4 other ones that I have to get, and because we had Kenny from Colorado who called the show last Wednesday and related that he had a bunch of charges thrown out, none of which were traffic. So there was disorderly and there was some pretty serious charges in there. So I need to get that posted also. So I have the documents. I am behind on that. So I do appreciate the call.
All right. Thank you, Mark.
Hey, and yeah, just if you want, you send me a reminder or forward me the email so it's easy for me to find, and I'll make sure on Monday we get that posted.
Okay, will do.
I appreciate the call. Eric in California, who had two success stories, one in California, one in Massachusetts. And the Massachusetts one is the one with Tiffany Castillo, who lied, saying that the evidence proving the Constitution applied was in the police report and on the complaint. And anyway, yeah, I just want to reiterate again that we have to look at the evidence and say what is the most likely explanation based on the evidence, instead of just saying that there's only one explanation only, and that explanation has to be that the police officer not showing up for Eric's trial had nothing to do with the defense that he did. That requires a pretty big assumption that's not necessarily, there's no evidence to support that. So it may be true, but we have to at least be honest and accept that that's not the only explanation for why the police officer didn't show up. It is, to me, it's not only arrogant, but it's dishonest to say that there's one and only one explanation. And anytime somebody is saying that there's only one explanation, when you don't have a complete context, you don't have a complete set of data, anyone who turns around and says, without a complete set of data, that there's only one explanation, watch out, because they're trying to mislead you. And they'll probably gaslight you at the same time, saying you have to be crazy to think it's something else. So what does the circumstantial evidence tell us? He didn't have the evidence, because, again, we know from the evidence, from the complaint, that it wasn't there. And we know from the discovery, they didn't even understand it. They didn't have the evidence. So it's not a matter of where we can show on the ticket the evidence, the cop didn't show up, and, well, he had the evidence, he didn't show up, so it must have been he just didn't give a damn. And, but here we don't have that. We got another new caller, area code 863. You're live on the No State Project. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Yes, area code 863. You're live on the big show. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Rowdy. I'm calling from Avon Park, Florida.
Have we spoken before?
Yes, we have. I bought your books and some of your other material, and I also did a 1-hour consultation with you.
Yeah, I'm not going to use your last name, but you have one of my favorite names of anyone I've ever worked with.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks.
No problem. You have good news for us?
Well, I hope it turns into good news. This where I live here in Central Florida, it's known for being, it does things its own way. It has that old country boy way of doing things. I guess kind of like if you were in Texas or something. It's that good old boy way of doing things. And bringing something new into the court is they automatically deny it or turn it away or something. They don't hear it. So of course when I got the speeding ticket. And I filed the motion to dismiss, with the reasons that you provide, the lack of jurisdiction based on location. And, of course, that motion was denied, which I expected it. Then I did the motion in Lamine, and that was denied too. And I looked at both of those responses that I received in the mail, those the orders denying the motions, and on both of them, the date area is marked out. There's no date, and there's no signature by the judge. There's just a rubber stamp of what looks like the judge's name, and then I think the clerk or somebody signs off near the bottom.
Okay, but that's common. That's common. So if you look,
no judge signature, and the date is actually marked out. No date at all. It's the space for the date is just marked out.
Well, the date's a minor issue, but as far as being a rubber stamp, if you were to go into file and see the original order, there would be probably a signature for the judge, and then what they typically do is rubber stamp the copies that go out. I'm going to mute you up a second there, Rowdy. Because we are up against a break. We'll be back here on the big show in just a few moments. So I'm not going to give out the number because we've been loaded with calls the entire show. And we're going to do our best to get to everybody. But we'll be back. Don't go away. Yes, welcome back to the No State Project. We're going to get right back into this with Rowdy from California, Rowdy from Florida. So, all right, continue, Rowdy.
Okay, well, like I said, I noticed that those motions weren't signed, and the date wasn't even put in. It was marked out. But you say that possibly that's just probably they filed the original with the signature.
Yeah, the clerk probably has that in the record, so that's not a big deal. The date, there's probably a date in the docket when the judge signed it, so I wouldn't say that was a big deal either. Did the denial have any text? I mean, was there anything other than denial? I mean, did the judge give any grounds? Did he provide the evidence that was supposed to be there?
Now, see, that's the other thing. The judge refuses to provide any information as to why it was denied.
Okay.
Now, the clerk suggested that it may have been a time issue because the clerk told me I had a certain time frame in which to file, but the judge may not have honored that time frame. That's my assumption. But nevertheless, both of them were denied, and I expected that only because of the way things work around here. You know, they're pretty much going to do to you whatever they want, no matter what kind of objections or whatever you raise. You know, I have a feeling if I was to go in there and argue jurisdiction, they would probably send me for a psych evaluation.
You know, it's not. I told you one of the worst offenses I've seen was in Florida, where they were going to take a woman's newborn child away. Claiming that she was, and that was in Florida some time ago. I mean, that child is probably 5-6 years old now. But I mean, talk about a traumatic thing to separate a mother from her newborn just because you're asking questions. I mean, give me a break. I don't think even Ron in California would agree with that. That's just terrible. So the motion in limine may have been a time issue. Had you already filed the discovery request?
Yes, I did, and that was denied also.
The discovery? Okay, who denied the discovery request?
Well, they're saying it was the judge, but when I call the court, they say they give me different information. You know, 1 minute they'll say it's the magistrate, and then when I question the standing of the magistrate, they'll say, "Oh no, it was the judge." And they'll give the judge's name.
Well, that's a minor thing. I'm sorry for interrupting. It's just I'm trying to go quick because we're running low on time. The thing that everyone probably look, I'm sure regular listeners to the show know exactly what I'm going to say here. And if you're new, you realize the judge has at this point in time has nothing to do with discovery. It is not a motion. It's a discovery request that the court is only given a courtesy copy so that you can prove when you gave a copy of the request to the prosecutor. The prosecutor is the one who has to comply with that. The only time the judge is involved with a discovery request is if the prosecution refuses to comply with it. And then you could do one of two things. You can file a motion in limine, like you did, and a motion to dismiss for prosecutorial misconduct, which I can get you off air if you haven't gotten that template yet. Or you can file with the judge to compel the prosecution to give you the discovery. And except in limited circumstances, I would say that there's no reason for us at all to try to compel the prosecutor to do that, because I'd prefer just to have the motion to dismiss for prosecutorial misconduct granted.
Right. Okay. So here's the problem I ran into at the very beginning. This will probably explain a lot of things. The only way that they would allow me to bring it into court, the speeding ticket, is by signing off on this piece of paper saying that I'm not guilty. And I said, well, that doesn't make sense. Already right there, you're denying me due process by forcing me in to make a plea just to get it into court. I want to take it to court, but I do not want to make a plea. Not at this point. You're forcing me to make a plea that's giving you automatically jurisdiction over me before I've even stepped into court.
Well, not necessarily. However, what they're doing is they're lying to you that you have to plea instead of being able to make a motion to dismiss or a demur, depending on where you are. So the clerks don't like to give you that third option. They don't. The only way you can see the judge is if you plea. Give me your name and your number, because your risk management is going to get hit with a claim if you persist in this lying to me, lady, or Mr. Whoever. So I would, when they do that, everybody, we need to call them out on it and say, "Excuse me, I'm gonna write down what you're saying. I want your badge number and I want your name. Are you certain there are no other options other than pleading?"
Yeah.
So, and you write it down. So you're telling me in plain English, and I'm quoting you on this, there isn't a third option of filing a motion to dismiss. That's not an option at all in this court. So somehow you exist in a vacuum from all other courts in the United States. No motions are allowed.
Yeah. Yeah, so I feel like that by them telling me that, and I said, well, that can't be because you're denying me due process. So I went ahead and filed the motions. Well, now, like I said, I filed that motion, and the other one, there's no court date. There's never been a court date. And when I call, they just say, well, you might want to do something fast, because if this ticket sits here any much longer without being paid, your license will be suspended.
Of course.
And I'm like, well, if I just go ahead and pay the ticket, then that's admitting guilt, and then I get points assessed. That's what I'm trying to avoid.
Well, I think what I could do in the interest of time, I would suggest filing the motion to dismiss for prosecutorial misconduct and have the clerk set it for a hearing before the deadline to pay the ticket.
Okay.
Yeah, and definitely prepare by, and this is the thing I want to bring up. You were asking leading questions, and you're making statements to this clerk. And even though you're only talking to the clerk and you're not speaking to a prosecutor or a judge, I think we should keep to the tactic of only asking leading questions. And so don't make those statements. Say, wouldn't it be a denial of due process? And then, and then put that in the question. Or wouldn't it be a denial of due process to mislead me into thinking I have to plea instead of filing a motion to dismiss? So that's a leading question you can ask them. Instead of making a statement, but you're denying me due process. They don't give a damn if you think that they're denying you due process, but keep the onus on them. If they're going to do this, then ask them that leading question. Well, hold on just a second. We'll finish. We'll finish in the next segment. My name is Mark Stevens. You're listening to the No State Project here on LRN on FM. We're getting into the last two segments of the big show here today, so I do apologize. We're probably not going to get to everybody. So whoever I miss, I apologize. We will be live for the No State Project YouTube stream, commercial-free, on Wednesday. Be episode 50. So definitely tune in for that, and we'll be back with Rowdy in Florida in just a moment. Welcome back to the big February 3rd show, the No State Project. We'll get the audio up hopefully today and get the video on my YouTube channel by Monday. So I want to bring back Rowdy from Florida. So I'm sorry we had to cut you off. We were going to a break. What were you saying?
Oh, yeah. What I wanted to say is I wanted to agree with what you were saying about how you interact with the people at the courthouse whenever you call them, how to ask leading questions instead of making statements. And the reason being is when I look at the case online, I see that every phone call that I've ever made to them has been transcribed and edited, for space.
Wow.
But everything I've said is on there, and then of course they will truncate it and then put in short the reason for that call, and some of the information they put is misleading. But
there's a
when
shock.
the judge looks at your case, he has all of that information. Everything you've ever said to the court and every call regarding that case is right there in front of him. So you have to be really careful what you say when you call the courthouse regarding your case.
They're supposed to disclose that to you, because if the judge has information, especially when information not from a party, that is going to influence his decision, you have supposed to have a due process right to be able to know and have that disclosed so that you can defend against it. Wow, that
Right.
Get me the information about the court. I'd like to get some screen caps of the docket where it shows that.
Sure, I will. Yeah.
Wow, that's disturbing. Jeez.
Yeah, I'll send you all that information.
Good. All right. So, if you have any other questions or concerns, because just to reiterate, and I can send you the template if you don't have it for the motion to dismiss for prosecutorial misconduct and get it set for a hearing.
Yeah, if you could do that, I'd really appreciate it. And what I'm going to do is, for the sake of time and everyone else here, I don't have any more questions at this time, but I am going to set up a one-on-one consultation with you whenever I get that template, so we can discuss it and see where we go from there. But I'm not done yet. I'm pursuing this, and I'm going to keep pushing it until something gives, because I believe in what you're doing. I have faith in it, and I really appreciate what you're doing. Thank you for being there. Thank you for your No State project.
Oh, I appreciate that. You just get into and do the role playing in the Skype chat. I recommend that you do that because you got to get your feet wet, so to speak. You got to have some experience doing that. You don't talk about boxing. You actually have to spar. And so it becomes more of a second nature. And we get that through the role playing, and also if you're able to go to a city council and ask the questions there, that's a big help. And so this way, even if you get there and the prosecution withdraws or the cop doesn't show up, it's because you've given them hell ahead of time. And what you've done is you've presented them an insurmountable challenge to their case, because if they had the evidence, I'll say it again, if they had the proof, they would just present it. And that's why critics can just say the only real excuse is, what? That we've heard it a million times, and they don't have to prove it, which we know is BS. To say that they can engage in misconduct, and that's when I'll send you. So off air, email me or Skype me, and I'll get that to you, because it says right in there. According to their own code, their own court decisions, you may not argue without evidence. That the prosecution under Rule 3.1 of most of that's what it is for most of the ethics for attorneys, they have to have facts and law to support their argument. And the Shaw case I quote all the time, even in the last video. Arguing without evidence is misconduct, and they're not going to let you and I do that. So I do appreciate the call.
Yeah, I'll tell you one quick thing. One of the things that made me really smile and just made me feel good inside is the day that I was talking to the clerk of court there, and I was asking her why it was taking so long to get a response from the judge for that first motion to dismiss based on jurisdiction. And she said, frankly, Mr. Lavender, we've never seen anything like this. We don't know what to do with it. We don't know how to respond to it.
I've only heard that a few times. I remember there was someone I worked with in Australia, and the court clerks were saying they didn't know how to process an appeal because no one had ever done one before. I was like, wow. It's not something we hear too often, but I'm not surprised that it comes out because most of the time people just make a plea. They enter, they make a deal, which is something that's still open for you. You can still even, so let's say you get it set for a motion hearing. At that, you can still tell them, I'm still happy to plead guilty and pay the fine if the prosecution has met their burden. Have they? So you still make it an issue. So. But, let's get the motion to dismiss for prosecutorial misconduct set for a hearing and take it from there.
Absolutely. That's what I'll do. Thank you very much.
Appreciate the call. Rowdy in Florida. Definitely contact me off air and we'll get you a copy of that motion to dismiss for prosecutorial misconduct, because if arguing without evidence was really okay, then why won't they let us do it? Right? I mean, can I make as the basis of my defense a legal claim against the prosecutor, against the police, and have no support, no evidence whatsoever, and not only be allowed to do that, but for the judge to accept it as irrefutably true? Yeah, that would be something. So I know we're almost out of time, so they've been on hold for a long time, been very patient. Dorothy in Arizona, welcome back to the show.
Hello.
Yes, thanks for your patience. What do you have for us today?
Oh, you remember my case about the real estate fraud that we had?
Yes, that was one of the biggest messes I've heard on the show.
Yeah. Well, it's still going on, and so the opposing party and their attorney are involved in contacting the Yuma County Sheriff and having my husband arrested back in 2014, and we just got it dismissed with prejudice, and the arresting officer and the judge should have recused himself. It was Judge Marion, and he's the one that did the assault on Pastor Anderson when he was a DPS officer, and he tased Pastor Anderson at the checkpoint because he wouldn't roll his window down more than 3 inches, and then twist-tied him and slammed his head against the windshield, and and then so anyway, of course, and that was the same DPS officer, and then the Welton, the city of Welton, elected him to be the judge. And so anyway, he should have recused himself because, and we filed a motion for him to recuse himself because him and the defendant the opposing party, they used to party together because he was a DPS officer stationed in Baitland for 20 years.
Dorothy, hold on. I've got to put you on hold for just a moment because we're out of time for this segment. We'll finish in the next segment. My name is Mark Stevens. You're listening to the No State Project. I'm sorry, we had a lot of calls today. I'm glad to see that we're doing. We always have a lot of calls, but we're not going to get to everybody. But we'll be back with Dorothy in just a moment. Don't go away. Yes, we're in the last segment. I tell you, 3 hours of Anarchy Radio goes really fast. And although I think the fastest show I've ever done, the way it felt anyway, was when I streamed last Saturday's show. I could not believe that we had gotten to the last segment that fast. But welcome back, everybody. So I do apologize, not able to get to everybody today. But hey, maybe we're able to add another show during the week. So I don't know. We'd have to see about time-wise, but maybe another 1 hour stream. We'll see. But I want to bring back Dorothy in Arizona, who's out there in Yuma, and you would think that was punishment enough, but no. She's relating to us some other things that had happened. So, all right, obviously you are the hot chick on wheels in the Skype chat.
Yeah, that's because I'm in a wheelchair. That's why I'm Hot Chick on Wheels.
Oh, and you're in Yuma?
No, I'm in Dateland, which is between Yuma and Phoenix, and I'm in Maricopa County.
Oh.
But it was we pay our taxes in Maricopa County, and the arresting officer tried to lure us over to the Dateland Travel Center, which is over in Yuma County. And because that didn't work, then they were trying to lure us to the this other location that is Yuma County, and because he was trying to justify the arrest in Yuma County. Well, we didn't buy it, and we didn't fall for it. So he came over on Sunday at 9 p.m. and arrested my husband. And so there I am at midnight in a wheelchair in Yuma trying to find, and I have no idea about, finding a bail bondsman and getting him out of jail and all this stuff, And so I finally did get him out of jail and everything like that and paid the bond and, got back around 3 or 4 in the morning and that kind of stuff and everything. But, and then but yeah, the basic thing is that, the important thing is that it's out of jurisdiction because we're in Maricopa County, not Yuma. He didn't read the Miranda rights. He didn't allow Dave to call an attorney. And it was a false arrest. And so then when they had the trial and everything like that, the judge was Judge Jones over in Welton. And like I said, he's the one that harassed Pastor Johnson when he was a DPS officer, and he wouldn't recuse himself because he knew the opposing party because they had because she owned a bar and that's where he frequented because the bar is like a mile from the DPS station over in Dayton. So anyway, but he didn't recuse himself, and so then when we of course he found he gave us a guilty plea. So we filed for an appeal, and Maria Cruz was the judge, and she dismissed it with prejudice. They had lost the video, the police video and everything. Because the police video, every time we asked for an attorney or anything, he would cover up the mic and everything. And then in the police video, it shows that they knew that he wasn't guilty of whatever made-up crime that they said he did, and they supposedly lost it, all the video evidence and stuff like that when we went to the appeal. Anyway, it was dismissed with prejudice, and now we're filing a lawsuit against the Yuma County Sheriff.
Right, when I want to get to that. Right, so it's great that you got it dismissed with prejudice. That's fantastic. Okay, did you guys do any role playing in the Skype chat?
No, I wasn't aware of it at the time. I only became aware of it in the last year and stuff. So at the time, I wasn't aware of any of that stuff
Okay, well,
so anyway,
that's fine. I thought maybe Shelby was going to lose $1,000 there, but we'll see. We'll definitely have somebody else. Okay, so you had asked me on the chat, and I think it's important to also discuss this on the air because you were notified that the Yuma County Sheriff was not a juridical person that could sue or be sued. Correct?
Right, non-jurial entity, and so that's what the DA put on there.
And that is not uncommon. In fact, people find out the hard way, and hopefully I can save somebody out there some trouble here. You can't sue the IRS. This is another example of what you're talking about. The IRS is not an entity that can sue or be sued. And that's why when you see documents from the tax court, it's always Commissioner of Internal Revenue or the individual agents. So you can not sue the IRS because it's not a juridical entity that can sue or be sued. So that's why, of course, you go after the commissioner and the agents. So it could be the same thing there with the Yuma Sheriff's Department. So you have to name the sheriff and the deputies, and you name Yuma County because the sheriff is acting on behalf of Yuma County. So when you, for example, I found this out also about 15 or more years ago, Maricopa County Risk Management can't be sued. It's not a juridical entity that can. Okay, so that's why you would name Maricopa County. You would name the risk management. You're going after Maricopa County's insurance, and that's why you name Maricopa County, and then individually the actors who did the actual damage. And I think you mentioned one of the deputies. I said, as long as one of these deputies contributed to damaging you, then you should name them.
Right, and we did all that, and but yeah, that's what I was wondering, because like the Menderes suing Arpaio, I couldn't figure out how they were able to, and yet we weren't. But that's because he went after the individual people and the risk management, right?
Well, they went after they went after the county, and they went after the individual agents.
Right. Okay. So that's what our mistake was. And so anyway, I did amend it, and it was due on February 1st, and we submitted it. And so we put down the individual players. So instead of putting the Yuma County Sheriff's Office, we put Leon Wilmot, who is the chief. And but see, the other question is that when we've been in the court appearances, why isn't it that he is not allowed? He doesn't have to appear. The DA does, and I asked the DA why he is not there, and the arresting officer and everything. Why is he getting favoritism or what?
Well, what kind of proceeding was it? Because if it's just an arraignment or pretrial, he's not required to be there. He's required to be there at trial if he's a witness or an arresting officer.
Yeah, it's in Yuma, they have a different situation than in Maricopa County. Every month, they want you to appear, and it's just an appearance, and I guess the judge is just basically doing a checkup on everything going in order. Even on the other, when Dave was illegally arrested, every month we had to go in, and which is a 2-hour drive for us, and appear in front of the judge and everything. And they just do kind of a follow-up of what's going on and what's going on with the case and different things like that. But that's how they do it.
It was probably a condition of being released OR. So if you're not, or if you're under bond, it's a condition of not being put in jail that you're going to go for these status hearings. So it's not something that's uncommon. What sucks is that you're forced to drive to Yuma. Even if it was a 20-minute drive, I would, and I apologize to anybody who, I don't mean anything personal, but man, I've been through Yuma. I'm going to have to go through Yuma again, and I go through as fast as I can.
I know.
I'm not a fan of Yuma. Although it's
a pit. Yeah, it's a pit. But the thing is that, so we filed, and then we have another appearance on the 14th. And, but anyway, we did amend as he requested, and we dropped basically what the judge was trying to do was, I know what he was trying to do. He was trying to get us to drop Leon Wilmot. And so we dropped the Yuma County Sheriff, and we put him plus the arresting officer and the Judge Marion Russ Jones.
Yeah.
Russ Jones.
Before we're out of time, because we've only got about a minute, I would suggest that what you want to do to save yourself some trouble is to not put the judge down as a defendant yet, because they're going to fight you on this absolute judicial immunity. So I think it's probably best to hold off and do a joinder after pretrial discovery, and you can get the judge into a deposition.
Okay.
All right, we're going to have to finish off air. So, Dorothy, I do appreciate the call. I apologize to everybody that were on hold, because some of you were on hold for an awfully long time. And I do appreciate the patience. I'm out of town. I can't do anything after the show, but definitely call back during the Wednesday broadcast where I will be live. So, till next time, salud.